Amazon Marketing Cloud, in short AMC, gives sellers powerful new ways to target their advertising more precisely and increase their return on ad spend. In this video, you will learn how to build custom audiences using AMC data and use bid modifications in your sponsored product campaigns to reach the most valuable customers. If you need help managing your Amazon advertising campaigns, reach out to Brent and his team. You will find the link in the video description below.
Hello, Brent. Welcome back to the Orange Klik YouTube channel. I'm super excited to have you as my guest today because you're going to talk about Amazon Marketing Cloud and how Amazon sellers could use the audience data for their sponsored products campaigns. So before we go into the details and everything regarding your expertise and knowledge, could you first introduce yourself and also tell us a bit more, what are you doing on a daily basis and how are you working together with Amazon sellers?
Yeah, hey, LISETT. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, sure. So, what am I doing on a daily basis? Mostly DSP and AMC these days. That's pretty much like 80% of my focus. Um, and yeah, I was happy to see you and many other people at the event in Prague just a couple weeks ago. And it's really cool to talk to the crowd there about it too, because it's still one of these areas that the knowledge in the market, I would say, is not necessarily even. Some people I spoke to at the event were like, "Oh yeah, we're using AMC. We do this, this, and this," and other people were like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what that is." So it's fun to play in this space right now because there's so much uneven distribution of knowledge. Let's call it so.
Yeah, and we both have agreed earlier that probably this is something that sellers will now start to look in more and more. So it's important to make sure that, they adapt as earlier and start to use it as early as possible as well to have that advantage compared to their competition. So, as I said, I'm excited to have you. So, what do you have for us today? I know you prepared some slides for us as well, so you can also go ahead and share them because we're always really into getting the best nuggets out of each expert visiting our channel. So yeah, the stage is yours.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. So, yeah, we're basically going to talk about one aspect of AMC because AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud, is actually a fairly large subject. And I really wanted to, for the purposes of this, discussion, this video, to stick to one aspect of it and one aspect that is particularly actionable. So, something that people who are watching this can say, all right, cool. I took 5 or 6 major notes from this video. I'm going to go talk to my ad team. I'm going to go do it myself, whatever you do. It doesn't matter as long as you go and you get it sorted out. So what we're going to focus on is the audience building aspect of AMC. So the idea there is target with precision. This is where we are in 2025. And like I alluded to earlier, talking to people at the event in Prague, this is not something everyone's doing at the moment. I think if you fast forward 8 months, 12 months, this is going to be table stakes and everyone's going to do it. But that's why I'm here talking to you about it now. So you get some information on this and you can jump into it. So yeah, this is me. Worked with PPC in general since 2012. I started with Google, moved to Amazon stuff 2015. I started Pathfinder. The big piece of news about Pathfinder recently sold to my business partner, Nate, and his company, Sellerplex. So we're actually part of a much bigger agency now. We are the advertising wing of that larger company, and they do all kinds of services like financial stuff and listing optimization and yeah, even tax things. But we're still the ad team, so that's where I remain focused. And like I said, DSP and AMC are my big thing. I live in France personally, so LISETT, you and I are in the same time zone. Always a pleasure to record because it's so easy to schedule. And what are we going to tackle today? 4 major things. So, what is AMC and why do we care about it right now? That's number 1. Building precise audiences, using precise audiences, and then implementation and tips, just like little things you need to know about the details of actually making sense of and making use of AMC and audience targeting. First thing, what is AMC? Just to lay a groundwork, we're going to lay a basis here. This is a data dashboard that Amazon has made available to anyone and everyone spending with Amazon ads. It used to be only DSP, but last year in October at Unboxed in the US, they opened it up to everyone. They said, everyone, welcome. Come get your AMC information. Basically, what you're able to do is look at anyone that interacts with your advertising across all channels. So that's sponsored brands, sponsored products, sponsored display, and DSP. So if there's a user that is someone that interacts with an ad and they trigger what's called an event, which is like a view or a click or an impression or a detail page view, that's all registered inside of AMC. AMC is this big database that you can then query and pull out these insights. I'm not going to make this very technical, but you use something called SQL, which is like a database querying language, and you pull out the reports and the audiences from that. This basically allows you to see, okay, what ads are working the best, when, where, against who, in what combination, in what order, over what period of time, and where. So it's all the W questions, right? The who, what, when, where, why of advertising. This is kind of unprecedented for Amazon. They've never given us this level of detail throughout history, and now it's widely available to anyone that can get access to it, which we'll go over in the presentation. It also has the kind of technical skills and know-how on their team to like harness the information properly. And if there's one major thing I want you to take away from this, anyone watching, is AMC is really two things, audiences and analytics. We're just going to talk about audiences today, just one of those two. The analytics is a totally separate topic, which is very meaty. We could spend a full hour on this, but we're going to skip over that for today and just talk about the audiences. So the comparison I like to make, and I apologize, they said if you're hungry, but it's kind of like chips and guacamole. Amazon ads is the guacamole and AMC is the chips. It's like they're both great on their own. AMC you can do a lot with, just querying it and getting analytics out of it. And Amazon ads you can do a lot of targeting with. But if you put them together, it's like next level, right? You're taking your targeting to the next level. You're making it something really special. So why does this actually matter now? Normal ads targeting is no longer enough. CPCs are going up. The market's getting more competitive pretty much all the time, except for some seasonal changes. But generally speaking, categories are more competitive. We won't get into it, but there's a lot of tariffs going on right now. And there's like a cost structure issue. Margins are really compressed. Amazon fees are kind of relentless. So what does it mean? It means that targeting through advertising, getting super refined, is kind of the next step for a lot of sellers and businesses. Amazon has opened up access to AMC to everyone in October, like I said, so it's still fairly new. They give us all the green light. And right now, a few people are actually doing this. It's mostly agencies and really advanced, bigger sellers that are doing this. I don't see a lot of our clients even ask us about it. We usually bring it to them and say, hey, we're doing this. We're building this audience. And they say, oh, wow, I didn't even know about that. How's that work? And then it's a discussion point for clients too. They think it's cool. So that's why you should get into this now. This is my kind of case I'm making for why anyone watching this should finish the video and then immediately go and actually implement some of this stuff. Yeah, so access now available. This is the blog post that Amazon put up. And I love pointing back to it because you can say the exact day that this happened. October 15th, 2024 is when they said, everyone go have fun. So this is what the AMC dashboard actually looks like. It's changed a little bit since I took this screenshot actually, but basically you have these instructional queries, a query editor, which is this thing here. Looks a bit scary, but on the left side there, you'll see it has Amazon ads, and these are all the different event types and database kind of like categories you can query. So how many times someone saw an ad, or like what time they saw it before they purchased. There's thousands of different examples to take out of this. But this is where you go inside of AMC. And you'll notice, if my mouse shows up here, I think so, over on the left side, there's like this reporting kind of icon. This is in the same area that you have your advertising console. It's all within the same login. It's just another area you navigate to over there on the left side. It's like the measurement and reporting area where you download your reports. And if you have AMC enabled, you have it there as just another place you can go and click into and try it out. So now we kind of understand what AMC is. Hopefully that was a good overview of why I think it matters right now, and building the audiences is the next part. So instead of relying on Amazon to pre-create audiences for us, or just using keyword search based intent, which is what we're all kind of used to talking about for years and years and years now. It's all we really talk about for years, is like targeting by ASIN, targeting by category, or targeting by keyword, which is like the classic one, right? Blue running shoes. Well, what if you could have like blue running shoes is one layer, and then another layer you're putting on top of it is someone who has seen your product detail page for your socks 7 times. Okay, someone is doing a lot of shopping for socks. These are running socks, let's say, or maybe they're compression socks. I use those sometimes for cycling and running. And they're also interested in buying shoes because they've looked at similar products. Well, you can create audiences in AMC to catch those kind of people. And then what you're doing with sponsored products is you're saying, I am willing to bid more for these people. I'm willing to bid a higher percentage. So I show up not only for this keyword, but for this individual who is searching that keyword and has these other traits. So you're kind of crossing 2 different aspects and saying, this shopper is worth more to me. So therefore, I will bid more for them. And that's the simple mechanism by which this kind of works. You're just saying, I'm willing to pay more for someone that I've targeted with my AMC audience. And this works in DSP too. That's actually where I use it most of the time personally, because I'm in DSP a lot more these days. Or sponsored display, which is kind of like the little brother to DSP. Those are ways you can target the audiences directly with display ads. But what we're going to stick to today is the one I have in orange, which is the bid modification. So yet again, just bidding more for sponsored products for specific targets based on the audience who is behind them actually searching those targets. And that's what we mean by like audience building. That's what we're actually creating here. So this is a very simple example, but this is users that had added to cart but did not purchase. This is like classic retargeting. So to someone that has gotten really far through your sales funnel, they're already problem aware, they're already brand aware, they're already solution aware, they've searched a keyword, but they haven't purchased for whatever reason. And what we can do with AMC, and this is just one of their audience building templates, of which they have many now, and they're adding new ones all the time. You basically just say, this is the advertiser, which means the account I want to push it to. It'll send it to that account. We want to make a rule-based audience instead of a lookalike, and I'll talk about what that is in a second. Give it a name, give it a description, give it auto-adjust date so it updates every once in a while. And then you can set a date range, like 30 days, 60 days, 45 days. With AMC, you can set a custom date range, whatever you want. It can be 47 days, it can be 14 days, it doesn't matter. In this example, 30 is fine, time zone, and then the ASINs to include. So I would say people that have seen and then added to cart my blue running shoes in the last 30 days, but they haven't actually purchased. I'm going to make an audience for them, and then I'll send it over to my account. Usually it takes 24 to 48 hours to go from AMC to sponsored products inside of your ad account. And then you can target those people and try to get them to complete the shopping journey, basically. So this is just an example of one very, very simple audience creation prompt. But this is what most of them look like when it comes to the template. It's, a couple fields that you can fill in, give it an instructive, useful name that you can refer back to later, and then see if it creates. Sometimes audiences won't create because they're not large enough. If you make this audience, for example, add to cart but not purchase, this would usually work for your biggest ASINs because there needs to be enough people that are actually in this current state for it to create. If you have a product that only has like 5 sales a week, you're probably not going to have an add to cart without purchase audience that's very big. If you have one that has thousands of sales a week, you're going to have one that's substantial enough to do this too, for sure. But this is a very specific small audience. It's just an example to show you how it actually looks. Now, one other thing I want to touch on is this idea of rule-based or lookalike. So rule-based is as specific as you can get. What you're saying is, here are a couple of different rules I want to apply to who I want to find. The output that AMC is going to give me is these people. Now, of course, with Amazon, everything's very privacy safe. You can't see the names. It's not going to tell you, oh, this is Lisette and she lives at 123 Anywhere Street. It's just going to say, here's the people that are in this audience. You'll hit them with your targeting when you increase the bid modification. Lookalike audience is what you might be used to with other display ad networks. If you've ever used like Meta, they do a lot of lookalike targeting through their display ad network. They're very good at that. That's probably what they've made most of their money doing, is finding people that look like the people that you're targeting. So you'll say, here are the people that added to cart those blue running shoes, but we're gonna get 1,000 people, 3,000, 10,000 people that look similar to them. And actually, the way to change that is this kind of slider. So when you hit lookalike audience, you can do most similar to most broad. And most broad is going to be the biggest, but maybe least relevant. Most similar is going to be the smallest, but most relevant. And there's kind of a, a 5 levels of similarity you can pick there, let's call it. And you would use a lookalike audience if you're just trying to get a bigger group of people that might not necessarily be exactly what you're looking for, but you get reach and scale. Whereas with rule-based, you're getting precision and, I would just say like exactness in targeting, I suppose. So a good distinction to make. This does mean that you can make a lot of different audiences from the same exact parameters, which is pretty cool. So building more audiences is always good in this scenario. You want to go build as many as you can, basically. Another one I like, I don't have a screenshot for it, but basically we use it all the time. It's like shoppers exposed to your ads. Specifically, you can say, here are people that searched for a keyword, let's say blue running shoes again, and they saw our ads, but they didn't click. So think about where that person is. They're a little bit further up in the funnel than someone that's at add to cart. They're like here instead of down here towards the bottom. What they're doing is problem aware. They want blue running shoes. Maybe they don't have brand loyalty. Maybe they don't really care. They're just shopping around looking at price. And you can then exclude other audiences. Well, if you construct it this way with AMC or do it in DSP, who have purchased already. With sponsored products, it's a little bit more simple, but you can say these people have seen the ads, but they haven't clicked. So they got just to the precipice there. And then you can also layer in competitor ASINs or even keywords. So let's say there's 5 keywords that you want to target because those are your 5 top keywords. And we've done this with a lot of clients at this point. Let's use these 4 or 5 ASINs that are our clients' ASINs, and these 4 or 5 keywords that are the top keywords for those ASINs, and we'll build an audience out of that. So these are people that have already seen those ASINs and seen those keywords and done searches, but they haven't clicked. And then we just make an audience out of that and target it. So pretty straightforward when it comes to the theory behind it. Any questions, LISETT, or thoughts so far?
Maybe thinking regarding like from the perspective of someone building an audience for the first time, and you said you have been testing a lot it yourself. So are there any like common mistakes sellers sometimes could do just because they don't know what exactly maybe they're doing when they're kind of getting that data for the first time?
Yeah, the most common mistake that we make, I could say like us specifically as an agency, is like we build audiences and we think, okay, we're going to hyper target this. We're going to like pick this, and this ASIN. It's going to be like these 5 people that, have never seen this product, but they're the perfect shopper. And then the audience itself doesn't create because it's just too small. So I don't know what Amazon's actual term for it. I think it's called an aggregation limit. There has to be a certain minimum of people that can be put in an audience in order to be targeted with AMC.
But do you know what's the minimum, or is it like written out somewhere? Is it like 1,000 people?
I think it's 2,000.
Okay.
I believe it's 2,000, but that might have changed. And some of these things with Amazon are kind of a moving target. For example, one thing that they did recently that's quite interesting is they added purchase information for 5 years looking back. So to 2020. That is to say, if someone is considered like a new to brand shopper, usually on Amazon, that means they haven't purchased in the last 13 months for the specific ASIN you're looking at. But Amazon has a new feature now where they say, actually, if you want to, you can query 5 years. So some of these definitions, they do shift a little bit. That's kind of like a related example. But I think that for privacy and security reasons, and also just for like targeting reasons, there has to be a minimum size. So my suggestion then would be start with audiences that are a bit more broad and a bit more open and start to work your way down instead of just saying, we want only these 2 ASINs and these 5 keywords. That might work for some products. Let's imagine those keywords are really vast search volume and those products are big sellers. Sure, it'll probably work. But if you do that for one of your mid-catalog products on a very hyper-specific niche keyword, it's probably not going to have success and create. And it doesn't, it doesn't really take any time to make these audiences if you have the ASINs and the keywords and stuff in front of you. But there's like a mental load that goes into it. So you could say it's some wasted effort.
All right. And usually you will see it straight away when you're creating the audience. That's, for example, Amazon or AMC is telling you that, hey, like the audience pool is not big enough to actually.
Couple hours.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple hours. Yeah, because and I do have a screenshot of it later on, but you can see like the audience's dashboard, and if you log into there, you can see some of them just says like audience failed, and you hover over with your mouse, and it'll tell you why. It'll say there's not enough people in this. Sometimes I make ones that are so specific. It says there's no one in this time frame within this audience.
Oh,
So it's
you're
like,
going super specific.
yeah, yeah. You know, we like to push the limit sometimes and see what we can do in it. But usually the message you get is just there's not a sufficient amount of people.
Mhm.
And sometimes it means you just need to take the time frame from 30 days to 60 days to 90 days. And okay, cool. Within 90 days, we can catch enough people to do this because the time frame is very important. Um, that's
Okay.
one consideration to think of.
Good points. Very good.
And then here's a good one I like a lot. Just another example. Multiple detail page views. So detail page is Amazon's fancy way of saying like your product page, right? And especially in DSP and Amazon ad language, DPV means detail page view. So if someone has looked at your page 7 times, like for the pair of running compression socks I talked about, you can target those people. Yet again, they haven't added to cart. They're a little bit further up the funnel. They're a little bit further down the funnel than the person we talked about earlier that is searching on the page because they've already made a selection, as in they've looked at a product and they're considering it. But still, if someone's looked at your page 5 times, 7 times, okay, let's put them in an audience and let's convince them to make the purchase and like finish the transaction, right? And you can see down here, we have more boxes and parameters for this. So minimum detail page views, 3, ASINs to include. I just put like a dummy one in there, but yeah, you would include a specific ASIN and it would make an audience for that and you'd be able to target those people. So that's how to actually build it. We could go through like 20 more examples, but those 3 are just very simple, very basic ones. And this interface that I'm showing here, this is the templated builder inside of AMC. When we looked at AMC earlier, there's an area that says audiences. There's an area that's a templated builder. You do not have to know SQL or like a programming language or a querying language to do this. It's super easy. And actually, Amazon just recently announced, and I haven't used it yet, but it is in beta in some of our accounts. There's like a natural language AI kind of version of this. So you can basically type to it and say like, I want an audience that has these people, these parameters, these days for this ASIN. And it'll write an SQL query for you and it'll run it. And in some cases it works. So it's actually incredible what they're able to do with this these days. It does make me wonder if my programmer friends are going to have a job in a couple years, but it works pretty well. This is the audience dashboard. So this is just an example of one of our areas, but you can see like these are the audiences, obviously blurred out just for privacy. But these are some of the status completed here. These all worked fine. And then these are the actual sizes. So this one here is almost 700,000. This one here is only 24,000. This one here is only 15K. Yeah, these were created a couple months ago, but these are ones that I have, ready in this particular instance, and I can push these over to either DSP or in the case, in this case was like sponsored products. And then we were targeting those with bid modification. How do you actually do that? Good question. It looks like this. So when you look at a campaign that is a manual campaign, just with sponsored products, there's a bid adjustments area on the left side. That used to be only for top of search, rest of search, product page. And then recently Amazon added business placements too. Well, they keep adding more stuff to it. So if you have audiences available in your account, you will see this area here that says audiences. This is like a new thing. And this is an example from one of our accounts I took just today, actually, to add to this slide here. But you can see basically I can hit change audience and that will open up this screen. And then I'm able to select a particular audience. And this one here you can see is something cart abandoners, 30 days, original something. It's like variation of the SKU, but we're basically looking at people that have abandoned the cart and trying to get them to come back. Those in the last 30 days. And then this is where we actually set the percentage. So I don't know what this goes up to. I think it might be 900%, kind of like the bid modification, but we usually will start with a more conservative bid and then inch it up as required to see what kind of impressions we get and exposure. Typically, the problem that we have with these bid modifications and these additional targetings is that we don't get enough impressions. So we start, pretty low, but we inch it up and we see what we can get. We also typically will build these in new campaigns. We don't use an existing campaign. We'll build a new campaign with the express purpose of using this increased bids versus an AMC audience, and we'll use the same keywords and other or targets, whatever they are, that we're accustomed to using. So there's always this tension between enough impressions and a low enough CPC, which I'll get to in a minute. But this is pretty much how it looks. It's really simple. It can all be done through the interface, just in the advertising console. So implementation and tips. The one thing to actually get AMC, this is a really important question. How do you get access to AMC? So typically what you've had to do is work with a tool provider or an agency, and working with them, they have the ability to go through the API or to actually just send Amazon a flat file, which is how they did it initially, to request access to AMC for your account. AMC is on an account to account basis. So if you have like 2 different Amazon businesses or 2 different accounts, you're not really able to mingle the data between them unless they're like the same exact brand. And an AMC account can see both DSP and sponsored products, so it can be connected to both, but you can't have them like talk to each other. This is for data and security and privacy reasons. Amazon's very strict about this. But as it stands right now, you need to ask a partner like an agency or a tool. If you have an account executive, I've heard more recently that if you're a company that's spending like on the higher end or the medium end of ad spend per month, you can probably go to your account executive and ask them to get AMC set up for you. I know that we onboarded a DSP client this year, and part of the reason that they were excited to work with us is just because we were able to get them an AMC instance, which they're now using in addition to us using it for DSP. So we're both kind of using it. So yeah, that's like the way to actually get access to it. I imagine in the future, there'll be a way that's even easier. But for right now, ask your account executive or go work with a tool provider or a partner to get access to it. When they do that, it should take a couple days. It shouldn't be too long. And you got to make sure that you as the company, and we make sure all the companies we work with have access to AMC, and it's something that they own, right? So if you stop working with that tool provider or agency, you still have access to your AMC account. It is your data, so you should have access to it. Another thing about the implementation, some of the technical know-how and the visualization behind it is still pretty challenging, but what I just showed off today, like the creating audiences, pushing them over to sponsored products, increasing your bid modification, that stuff is really all easy. You do not need a super high advanced SQL person on the team to do that stuff. You can just do it with point and click interface and a basic understanding of the sales funnel. So this is something you really can do, and it is becoming easier all the time. Like I mentioned, there's AI, which I don't think I can put in the slides, but it's just something that's been on my mind because it's interesting. Oh, no, there it is. Yeah, newly announced natural language AI building feature. Really cool. Really cool. And there's a big template library. So the last thing I'll leave you guys with is, as far as tips goes, is build as many audiences as you can that you have a reasonable hypothesis for you think will actually work, right? The reason is, in our testing, we think 30-40% at most of the audiences that we push over actually end up being successful for us in the long term for ROAS. Like if we're looking at efficiency and ad spend, if we're looking at ACOS or ROAS, same measurement, we're just interested in that for a lot of accounts at efficiency. And a lot of the audiences that we create and push over, they end up being a little bit too expensive on a cost per click basis. And with these audiences, there's always this tension between I need to get as many impressions as I can, and I don't want the cost per click to be too costly. There's something about targeting and hyper targeting the people in these audiences that makes the cost per click really expensive. Sometimes you have to play around with it. You have to experiment. You have to test it. This is the game with advertising, as always. So we have found, when it's not just the bid modification, because we know we can do the math, right? Okay, it's 30% here, and it's increased by another 20% there. What's the total CPC? Even if your conversion rate is like 35-40%, which would be high even for Amazon advertising, if the CPC is too high, the math might still not work out. So you have to build a lot of audiences, you have to test them, and you have to be aware of this constant tension between those two. That's our experience with this so far.
Well, thank you so much for sharing what you have been up to testing out AMC. And as I see, here's a contact slide as well. So if you are interested talking with Brent about AMC or building audiences or anything advertising related, then here's the website address and the QR code to get in touch with Brent. And of course, we are gonna leave all of the information also in the video description below, so you can easily reach out. And as always, of course, if you were following along this interview and you have any questions, you can also post them as comments under the video, because then we will ask Brent to come back to the video and answer them. So you have the chance to kind of have directly, connection and contact with Brent as well to get answers to your questions. So thanks again for sharing everything. It was very interesting to listen to you. I wanted to ask, so now if a seller sets everything up, is kind of starting to build and kind of goes through the steps which you show to actually then implement and set up the campaign. One thing I think you mentioned was that you usually do separate like new campaigns, right? So if I now start to do it like for the first time, should I just create like one audience, one campaign, then wait? Because as you said again, you need to kind of adjust maybe the bids and everything to even get impressions. Or can I create several audiences at one time and then just see how they will start performing over time? What's kind of like, let's say, your recommendation to start off for someone who has not been building audiences like this before?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I think we had an internal debate about this at Pathfinder, and in some communities I'm a member of. It's something that's come up a lot. Is like, should you just take these existing campaigns and modify them? But I think the conclusion most people have come to and agree on is no, you should leave those as is, because those campaigns play an important role in kind of catching everybody who's searching for that keyword. We all have some of these single keyword campaigns or these exact match manual campaigns that play a very important role in the account. And for budget reasons, which is a very good reason to split out separate campaigns, and also just for kind of like keeping things like steady, it's probably better to put it somewhere else. So that kind of settled that question. And I think what I would do is come up with a list of audiences I think I have a reasonable hypothesis to believe would be advantageous for us, either from a ROAS standpoint, or are we trying to reach people that are high funnel? Are we trying to reach people that are searching on a specific keyword? Because that's really important to us. Come up with a list, do a brainstorm on your team, talk to your ad person, talk to your friends who are trying it, whatever, just come up with a list. And then figure out what are the 1, 3, and 5 that you would build first. And say, okay, this is the first one I'm going to try because I believe it has the highest success potential and will yield like the best ROAS and general exposure for us. And those are the ones I would build first. If they succeed, because you need to cross that first hurdle. Does the audience succeed? Wait 24, 48 hours at most. It should show up inside of the new campaign that you've built. You can go to the audiences tab, enable it, and figure out your bid percentage and start to increase that and watch it every day. So it will require a little bit of care and feeding. It's kind of like a house plant that requires a lot of attention. You have to keep checking back in on it to make sure that it grows and it prospers, right? So it's a good question that we said, because you don't want to build like 10 all at once. I mean, you can build 10 audiences all at once. Go for it. Go crazy. But you don't want to build the campaigns all at once, because your budget only goes so far, and you want to be realistic with what you can do instead of just spending all your money in like week 1 of testing this. See what kind of returns you have and increment from there.
Makes sense. So a few times you mentioned, of course, it's important to make sure ads are running efficiently. So when you're working with this audience data and setting up or building different audiences and testing things out, is there something you're currently missing, or see that, hey, like if we would now have that feature or that data point either in AMC or an Amazon advertising console, then it would be kind of like not maybe a game changer, but like would be helpful for the sellers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that comes to mind is like on my dream list. I don't think it'll ever actually happen, but you'll notice when we talked about the bid modification, we didn't say anything about bid modifying downward, just upwards. So the problem with Amazon bid modification in general is it only goes up. There are many scenarios where we would want to reduce bids. So I can see building audiences that I don't want to show up against, because I have data to suggest that I don't want to show up for them or whatever. I mean, a good example that's really super obvious that it's still amazing we don't have in 2025 is just gender-based targeting. So if I have a product that's exclusively for men or exclusively for women, why can't I just say, you know what? I don't want to show this to women. I don't want to show this to men. I would rather just not do that. It's crazy to me that we still don't have that. So this is like one of these wish list things they set. I can't say there's like a solution for this, but definitely being able to exclude or bid down would be the top thing on my list. Um, Amazon is adding, to be positive, Amazon is adding new data sources AMC all the time, and they even have for a short period taken some of their paid data sources and made them free in the interface, which is really cool because it's stuff that you'd actually have to pay for. And some of that includes off, well, sorry, not shoppers on Amazon that have not actually interacted with your ads, and you can use them kind of as a benchmark to compare against, which is really cool. So we haven't done much with that, but I think that's probably something that I think we should do more of. Yeah. And one more thing that's really cool. We have this feature in sponsored brands for many years called new to brand, which I mentioned earlier. So someone's considered new to brand if they haven't purchased in 13 months. You can get new to brand information at a per keyword level for sponsored products with AMC, which is something you cannot do anywhere else. This is quite powerful and quite useful. You can
Okay.
start to see what campaigns are the ones that are actually driving new customers and like then use audiences to target that and figure that out and lean into that more. So that's really cool.
Well, hopefully one day we can record another video and then refer back to this one and say like, hey, Brent, we actually now have gender-based targeting, for example.
Wouldn't that
Uh,
be great?
That would be awesome. Well, thanks again. Before we go, can you once more summarize what are the main services you offer for Amazon sellers? If anybody watching us is interested to learn more, and also what's the best way to learn more about what you do to help Amazon sellers to manage their ads better?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a bit new at this since we've merged with Sellerplex. But traditionally, Pathfinder, my company that is now merged, we do anything and everything Amazon ads. So sponsored products and DSP. And now we even offer AMC as a bit of a data service for some companies. We're trying that out. But Sellerplex, our new parent company, they do a wide variety of things. They do supply chain, logistics, finances, listing optimization, and it kind of makes sense. You can see why we merged with them because together we're a much bigger, kind of stronger company. And yeah, so you can get in touch with me at just Brent at amcpathfinder.com. You can also go to sellerplex.com as well. Those are
Perfect.
good spots.
Perfect. Well, thanks again. And I hope I'm gonna able to see you soon on our channel to educate our Amazon sellers further.
Thanks, Lisa.
I hope this video will help you to understand how you can use Amazon Marketing Cloud data to improve your advertising targeting and increase your return on advertising spend. And if you're interested in working with Brent and his team for managing your Amazon advertising campaigns, check out the link in the video description below. And if you enjoy the content we create, hit like and subscribe buttons to see more videos we upload to our YouTube channel. And now I recommend you to watch another video where you will learn how to use free brand analytics data for better PPC performance. So check this out.